It's the classic question. Why do we need math? Especially, what is algebra for? Why do we need algebra? And what's the point? Have you heard this question? My name is Bernie Dove. I've heard this many times, dozens of students I've worked with over the years. In this video, I'll give a short introduction with an example of how useful math and algebra is. To get the rest of the story, click on the link below to join my free True Math Mastery community to find out more about how I help dozens of kids go from struggling with math to excellence in math and SATs in middle school, high school, and SATs. So this is the same exact problem as before, but this time instead of a total of 15 fans and saying that there were 3 more home fans than visiting fans, now we're saying I made up some big numbers. There were 3,485 fans at a basketball game and 1,237 more home fans than visiting team fans. Now, before your child or you, if you're a student, says, "Hey, but I don't care about this problem. When am I going to ever have to figure out how many So this is just a contrived problem, but I will show you in my next video. I'll give you an example of an actual problem that a teenager, who was playing video games and came up with a very important problem that was important to him for that video game. And that problem involved algebra. So again, the point is not that you will have this problem. Okay, I don't know what your question is going to be, what you're going to come up with in your life that's important to you, whether you're playing a video game or doing fantasy football or buying a business or opening a business, whatever you're doing, you will come up with your version of a problem that will be solved more easily by algebra. So this is again a contrived problem. And this, by the way, parents, this is part of the challenge. Okay, is that no matter what problem I invent, your kid, an individual kid, will not have that problem. Okay, so they'll say, "Oh, well, why do I need algebra? Because I don't care to know if I have how many fans at a basketball game, how many were home team, and how many were visiting team." And the reason we're doing this, the reason we're inventing problems that they don't have, is to teach them how to use algebra and reasoning to solve problems in their own life, which they don't have yet. They will have. They actually have it. They're doing as the example I'll give you of a kid, my son, who was playing video games and had a question that he knew was algebra, had to come and ask me. They will come up. They will have in their life. They currently have. They don't realize it, but they have a series of problems and questions that they've got to figure out, and without being and which end up being algebra problems. So we are teaching them algebra. Again, don't try to explain this to your kid right now. They're not going to buy it. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to buy it. But the truth is that the reason for algebra, the reason we're teaching math, the reason we're teaching algebra is we're teaching them how to reason, how to solve problems. And because in order to teach them how to solve problems, we're creating simple problems. And yes, these are simple problems compared to real world life problems. These are simple problems. There's only 2 numbers there. There's a base, but we have to teach them how to reason, and algebra is a method of reasoning. So anyway, in this video, I'm going to now show how to answer this question, which is the same exact question as before, but this one they will not be able to answer by simple trial and error as we did the previous one, or they'll be here for a very long time. So now the question is, there were 3,485 fans at the basketball game. So there were a total of 3,485 fans. In the previous example, there were only 15. It was easier to figure out. But now we're making up a big number, a real world number. There were 3,485 fans at the basketball game. And we're saying there are 2 kinds of fans at the game. There are home team fans and there are visiting team fans. So we're not telling you how many home team fans. We're not telling you how many visiting team fans. But we are telling you that there are 1,237 more, the key word is more, fans than visiting team. Okay, and the question is, how many fans did the home team have? And they're also corresponding, how many fans did the visiting team have? So we're told the total number of fans, and we're just told the relationship. We're told that there's 1,237 more home team fans than visiting team fans. And you can do this trial and error the way we did the previous problem, but you'll be here for a long time, meaning you can guess. You can start by guessing, let's say there were 1,000 visiting teams, visiting fans. That means there were 2,237 and go on and trial and error and trial and error. You'll be here for a long time trying to figure this out, even with a calculator. So here, drum roll, here is where algebra helps you and saves the day. Algebra and math in general is a way of solving problems. So here we have a problem that is similar to the previous problem, but the numbers are big enough that you cannot solve it easily by trial and error as we did before, because here we have there were 3,485 fans at the basketball game. The home team had 1,237 more fans. So the question is, then the visiting team. The question is, how many fans did the home team have? So here, so if you want to do this the way you did the previous problem, the simple problem with only 50, with the numbers were very small, you'll be here for a very long time. You can do this trial and error, but here is where to solve this problem. Here is where algebra and math in general gives you a method, a methodology that lets you solve this problem easily in seconds. Okay, so let's see how to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assign, in the algebra, we assign variables to values, and we make it up. I'm going to say let H, I'll make this up, pick a letter, let H equal home fans. Now, one of the things about mathematicians and algebra is we're lazy, we want to use letters. We don't want to say number of home fans, we simply say H. H represents the number of home fans. And then we say let V equal the visiting fans. So now from the original problem, we know that the number of home fans, plus the visiting fans equals 3,485. We just turned this problem, into an equation that says the number of home fans plus the number of visiting fans is 3,485. And then we're told that there were 1,237 more home fans than visiting fans, which means, written in algebra, that means that the number of home fans, H, equals the number of visiting fans plus 1,237. This is exactly the same set of equations we did in the simple problem where there were only 15 fans, and the numbers are bigger. In the case of 15 fans, we were able to solve it without math, so to speak, by doing trial and error. But there are only 15. But now we have 3,485 and 1,237. These are bigger numbers, and now I'll show you the algebraic method really shows tremendous value. Watch. So we have the original equation so we know from the original fact that H plus V, home plus V, equals 3,485, which means by the magic of algebra, and this is what we're going to teach in algebra, by the magic of algebra, if the number of home team fans plus the number of visiting fans is 3,485, then by the magic of algebra, that means the number of home team fans is 3,485 minus the number of visiting team fans. So this is algebraic magic. This is why we use algebra, but that's what that means. If this is true, if H plus V equal 3,485, then H equal 3,045 minus V. Now, if this is confusing to you, it's because you have not yet learned algebra, the simple rules of algebra, which we will have separate videos on and separate lectures that show you how this works. But right now, I'm just telling you the result. Now, we also know that from the original problem that we know that H, the number of home team fans, is the number of visiting team fans plus 1,237. Notice we had that from before. This is the same equation from before. So all we've done so far in algebra is transform this equation, H plus V equals 3,045, to this, H equals 3,045 minus V. And yes, this is the reason to learn algebra, and it's not hard, but we'll have to go over it. And then we can say, well, now since H equals this and H equal that, what that means, again, by the rules of substitution algebra, I can now create an equation. Yes, it's an equation, it's algebra, and it's not complicated, but this is the magic of algebra. Will tell us that V plus 1,237 equals 3,045 minus V, because if H equal this and H equal this, therefore this also equals this, and that's what we're writing. V plus 1,237 equals 3,045. Again, if you're rolling your eyes if this doesn't make sense, it's because we have to discuss algebra. We have to talk about the rules, but this is why. Okay? You asked why, what's the point? When in life will you have this problem? Now you'll say, well, I'll never have this particular problem. You're right, you won't have this problem. In my next video, I'll show you a problem of one teenage kid, my son, years ago, who was playing video game, was playing Madden, and had a different problem that had a solution in algebra. So yes, you do not have this problem and don't anticipate having this problem, but I guarantee you, if you're a creative kid, an ambitious kid, and like so many of you are, you will have in life, you will have this kind of problem. Maybe you'll be making a party and you'll have to figure out how many tables you need. Maybe you'll have a party and have to figure out how many prizes you need. Whatever the problem is, maybe you'll be playing fantasy football. Maybe you'll be and trying to figure out odds. There's a myriad of problems that you will have that you don't know yet that this kind of thinking will help you solve. This is just a simple example. So let's go through the process. Okay, same as before. Now, so we know that v plus 1,237 equals 3,045 minus v. Okay, so this is the equation we just had before. Okay, and again, now what we're going to do is we're going to add v to both sides of the equation. Now, for those that know algebra, understand what I'm doing is I'm isolating v. So I'm adding v to both sides of the equation. Therefore, v plus v is 2v, so therefore 2v plus 1,237, and negative v plus v is 0, so therefore 2v plus 1,237 equals 3,485. You're rolling your eyes because you haven't learned this basic algebra yet. I'll show you this in a separate unit, but we're right now just answering the question of showing the beauty of what you can do with this. So now we know that 2v plus 1,000, now what we're going to do is subtract 1,237 from both sides of the equation. And that will give us that 2v plus 1,237 minus 1,237 equals 3,485 minus 1,237. Why did we do that? Because 1,237 minus 1,237 is 0. Something minus itself is 0. So that gives us that 2v, double the number of visiting fans, is equal to this expression. And now you do the subtraction. You got to know how to do the subtraction. Do it. 3,045 minus 1,237. If you want, do it in a calculator. You'll see that is 2,248. But why use a calculator? It's so much more fun to do it by hand. So you get 3,045 minus 1,237 is 2,248. So now we know that 2v equals 2,248, which means twice the number of visiting team fans is 2,248. Well, if double the number of visiting fans is 2,248, then the way you get v, the number of visiting fans, is dividing by 2. Now you got to know how to do division. Dividing by 2. This is long division. Why use a calculator? Again, it's so much fun to do it by hand. 2,248 divided by 2. You can try it with a calculator, but it's so much more fun to do it by hand. 2,248 divided by 2 is 1,124. So now you know v. You know the number of visiting team fans is 1,124. Well, now how many home teams do you have? Met fans do we have? Well, the total number of fans was 3,485. If there are 1,124 of them were visiting fans, then simple subtraction, 3,485 minus 1,124 is, drum roll, is 2,361. So the answer is the number of home team fans is 2,361. The number of visiting team fans is 1,124. And let's see if it works. Amazing. Let's look at the original problem. We were told there were 3,485 fans at the basketball game. The home team had 1,237 more fans than the visiting team. How many fans does the home team have? So let's see. We got an answer. Does the answer work? So we said there were 2,361 home fans and 1,124 visiting fans. When you add them together, voila, you get 3,485. So it works. So if you have 2,361 home fans and 1,124 visiting fans, that in fact does equal 3,485 fans altogether. And check the other constraint. It's called a constraint. Okay, this is math. Yes, turns out that 2,361 is 1,237 more than 1,124. So that we were told that there were 1,237 more fans, home fans than visiting fans, and that's true. So we're saying the answer is there were 2,361 home fans and there are 1,124 visiting fans. And yes, this is just the same thing with bigger numbers, but without algebra, you'd be here for a long time solving this problem. So that is a long-winded explanation of why algebra is helpful. And again, for those that say, hey, I don't have this problem, trust me, you have or will have far more complex problems, okay? And yes, it's true. You can ask somebody else, but the real skill in life is reasoning. So what this is about is reasoning, is being able to reason and use logic. And algebra gives you a set of tools to reason through. It's an amazing technology, an amazing process that helps you think through and solve problems on your own, because even AI will not think for you. If you think AI will think for you, think again. AI is very valuable. It is very useful, and it's true. AI will solve this problem for you. You can take a picture of this, and AI will solve this directly. But that's only because this is a canned problem. But the real things you want to do in life are things that AI cannot reason for you. The real valuable things in life are things that AI cannot think for you. So the entire purpose of math, the entire purpose of teaching you math and algebra and all, is to teach you how to reason and how to think logically, okay, to solve problems. And the only reason we create imaginary problems or synthetic problems, right, that we invent problems that you don't have, is to teach you this reasoning process, not to torture you. Because it's once you learn how to think and solve problems, that is the key to success in everything in life. That's the message. And again, parents, do not try to convince your kids of this just yet. They've got to see that they can succeed. They have to be shown that they can succeed. Just like a video game, even though they may fail over and over again, but they do believe that they will get it. Okay, in math, they think they can never get it. That's why they turn off. So thank you very much. And in the next video, I'll give you an example of a real world problem that a real teenage kid, i.e. my son, or a 12-year-old at the time, came with a real problem on a video game. And he said to me, Dad, I know this is algebra, but please don't give me a lecture. Please just give me the answer. And I said, okay, son, give me the problem. I will give you the answer on the condition that sometime in the future, you will learn how to do this. Okay, he said, okay, deal.